Live from WRAL News Headquarters in Raleigh, your number one source for local news. WRAL News, coverage you can count on.
We have a level 1 risk for severe storms this evening. I'll show you where they'll start and what you can see. And severe storms brought down trees between Raleigh and Benson. You're looking at debris in a church parking lot right now. The cleanup that's left to do today.
And Wilson County school leaders could soon reveal more about their plans to restore a middle school that an EF3 tornado damaged. Springfield Middle is expected to welcome students back next week while restorations are underway. Definitely something they're going to have to contend with there. That's pretty bad damage that we had there. But again, they've got a plan. We'll get into that in just a second. But first, thanks for joining us here on WRAL News and Fox 50. I'm Chris Lovingood.
And I'm Michelle McConaughey. Starting out really nice this morning. It feels great out there. Sunshine at Diggs Park. Meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner, though, we are tracking a level 1 severe risk for some storms later today. Yes, and yesterday was a level 2 risk, and we did have some damage, especially south of the Triangle. We had some trees down and some damage, especially in Johnston County. But that level, of course, is one lower today. So a few isolated storms could produce some wind damage. And here's how it's likely to go. First of all, it's a beautiful start this morning. We're seeing lots of sunshine, nice little drop in humidity, but a bigger drop on the way. In the meantime, around 5 o'clock, we start to see a band of storms developing. Between 7 and 8, those move on into the Triangle. And then by around 10 or 11, those move on through, and we're finished with that. Of course, this morning it looks nice out. There's a live look at Fitton and Cary, 72 now. Our dew point is at 67, and so it's starting to warm up, feeling a little stickier at this point, and we'll see a warm afternoon with a high of 88. But once all this moves through today, we're going to see some pretty big changes. I'll show you how much the humidity will drop by tomorrow. Coming up, Eric.
Elizabeth, it's getting busy out there this morning as we take a live look at the traffic map. One issue I want to point out, it's actually going to be down here, I-40 at Sunnybrook Road. This leading to some pretty significant delays as you're coming into the city. Taking a live look out there right now, you can see multiple lanes closed, whether you're coming from 40 or 440. Traffic being diverted to either side. Raleigh police officers, DOT crews, fire crews on scene. And just in the last couple of minutes, we saw an ambulance leave that scene as well. Working to learn if anybody was injured there. But if you're headed from the south, coming up I-40 westbound, this likely to add several minutes to your drive. You can see 14 minutes worth of delays there on the big board. Now, the other major issue that we're continuing to follow is going to be up on I-85 outside of Oxford. I-85 northbound still shut down because of a tractor-trailer crash. This leading to multiple miles of backups and delays. Traffic being diverted off at exit 202 and back on. I want to briefly send you out to some video from Sky 5 here taken just a couple of minutes ago. You can see one of the tractor trailers involved in this crash here. Those northbound lanes completely shut down. Still working to learn the condition of the driver there, but you see that tractor trailer ripped open, that mess spilled all over the road. That likely to take crews still a couple of hours to clean up.
Yeah, I think you described it just right there, Eric. A mess. Thank you. Storms passing through our area brought down trees along the way. And WRAL's Kelsey Coffey joins us from Lighthouse Baptist Church in Benson. Kelsey, you can see there are some branches that were down as well. What are you seeing now this morning from your perspective?
Chris, right now we're seeing just debris all over this parking lot, and there's also debris all in that front yard there that's next door. We talked a little bit about Lansing Drive a little bit earlier. We'll show you some video now from there. It's a neighborhood where you can see a fence down in someone's yard, a huge limb on the ground. We'll also give you a look now at what the drive looked like from Raleigh to Benson yesterday. People were driving slowly to avoid debris on the roads. An NCDOT representative told WRAL there were a few trees that had to be removed from the middle of the road. The rest were large trees that were leaning across guardrails and onto the shoulder. Traffic had to merge to one lane to avoid some of those large limbs. And we'll be sure to keep you updated on the cleanup efforts that are happening here throughout the morning. Kelsey Coffey, WRAL News, live in Benson.
And breaking news, a man is in the hospital after he was stabbed in South Raleigh. This is video from the WRAL breaking news tracker. Police responded to Marble Street just after 11 p.m. That's where they found a man with stab wounds. He was taken to the hospital and is expected to be okay. Police were also investigating a gas station on South Saunders Street nearby at the same time. It's not clear at this time what exactly happened there. A man is in custody for that attack.
Today, we expect to learn more about the plan for restoring Springfield Middle School as the start of classes is right around the corner. The school in Wilson County was badly damaged when an EF3 tornado hit it earlier this month. You see Sky 5 video right there on your screen. WRAL's Laura Levine joins us live from Lucama. And Laura, today, school leaders could talk about their plans to restore things and get things running again.
Kristen, you know, it was about 2 weeks ago or less than 2 weeks when that tornado touched down here this morning. We continue to see construction crews arrive and continue the work. But just taking a look at the school today, a big difference compared to the day and week of when Debbie really had an impact here. Today, Superintendent Lane Mills says he will share more on the progress getting the school back open to students. This morning, you can see a fence around the building and repair work done on the roof. The 6th and 7th grade wings of the school suffered immense damage to the walls and roof, and the classrooms and other rooms on those wings are a total loss. Builder Services of NC has been working to remove excess water and secure the roof and walls that were damaged. The company determined 75% of the structure is safe, that students can return back to school at the start of school, which begins next week. They plan to bring in mobile units and also utilize the 8th grade wing and core of the school while the 2 damaged units and wings are rebuilt.
We can treat it like it's ours and everything's back to normal except for those 2 wings. Now, there'll still be some stuff on that's fenced off and that's safe, but the building is safe and functional.
And that was from last week's special board meeting. We know the board will meet once again this morning or later today, actually. You know, orientations will still go on as scheduled, happening at Lucama Middle School tomorrow. Laura Levine, WRAL News. We're live in Wilson County.
And today, Wake County leaders will consider buying a property for a permanent drop-in shelter for the community's homeless population. Currently, White Flag Shelter is open in the county when it's 32 degrees or below. The new shelter will not just be for White Flag nights, but for any time someone needs a place to stay. It would house about 100 people. Commissioner Matt Calabria says a single permanent shelter will be easier for the county to streamline and coordinate.
So we want to make sure that we have a facility that's permanent, predictable, everyone knows where it is, and has all the facilities and amenities that we want it to have. So this is going to enable us to do that really for the first time.
And Calabria adds the cost to buy and maintain the facility is already included in the budget that was passed in June, so the permanent shelter won't result in any tax increase.
Time is 8:07. The Democratic National Convention kicks off today in Chicago. Vice President Kamala Harris and her running mate, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, are set to formally accept their party's nomination. President Joe Biden is expected to kick off the convention as the keynote speaker tonight, and other speakers include former Presidents Barack Obama and Bill Clinton. Harris will cap off the convention Thursday night.
And ahead of the DNC, Harris and Walz kicked off their busy week with a bus tour yesterday in western Pennsylvania. They stopped at a phone bank in the Pittsburgh area to meet with campaign volunteers and supporters. They made several other stops in the area, including a fire station and a local restaurant.
Former President Donald Trump will hold a rally today in York, Pennsylvania. It comes 2 days after he spoke for more than an hour during a rally in Wilkes-Barre, about 2 hours north of York. Trump says that he plans to visit battleground states during each day of this week's Democratic National Convention, and that will include a stop here in North Carolina on Wednesday in Asheboro.
And happening today, we're expected to hear updates regarding the Go Raleigh Access Program. That's the city's ADA paratransit service, and we're expecting to learn more about a program that provides free rides for low-income households. It comes as the city reintroduces fares to its transit system. The public meeting will be at the Chavis Community Center from 6 to 8 p.m.
College students across the Triangle will begin classes today. It's the first day of the fall semester for NC State, UNC Chapel Hill, and North Carolina Central University. Duke, though, begins classes next Monday.
Coming up, sharing is not always caring, especially when it comes to our four-legged friends. The new warning for pet owners about communal water bowls and what you should do instead.
And the sun will be setting before 8 p.m. for the first time in months. Ahead, meteorologist Chris Michaels explains why getting rid of daylight saving time may not be the best for everyone.
And we have a level 1 risk for severe storms today. It'll be around the evening time. Coming up, I'll show you the timeline and what will happen after all of this moves out.
Gonna look outside at Lake Gaston this morning. Beautiful blue waters there. You know, it was a little gray earlier, but I'm liking the nice blue skies that we're seeing here today. It'd be nice if that could stay for the rest of the week. Will it, though? We've got meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner to answer that very question.
Hey, it will. We have some really pretty weather in our forecast. And we do have a level 1 risk for severe storms, but that's likely to be this evening. So right around the time of the evening commute, we'll have some scattered thunderstorms. But up until then, it'll be nice and sunny. And once that moves out, we have a September feel headed our way mid to late week. In the meantime, we're going to check in on Hurricane Ernesto. It's continuing to pull away from North Carolina, but we'll talk about our rip current danger. Pretty look over Wake Forest right now. Lots of blue sky here. Our temperatures are in the low 70s and our dew points in the 60s this morning, so it's felt fairly comfortable. This is the cold front that brought us a lot of the severe storms yesterday. It's gradually moving toward the coast, but there's another disturbance that's up to the north and west that's going to swing through, and that's what will bring us a chance for severe storms again today. Mainly from the triangle area northward and eastward, and wind damage. Straight line winds would be the biggest threat. It's a smaller threat than yesterday. Yesterday we had a level 2 risk for parts of the viewing area. There's lunchtime, there's 3 p.m., and around 5 o'clock we start to see just a fairly weak line that comes through. A few of these could produce some wind damage, but again, the threat is a little lower than it was yesterday, and it's again starting around the evening commute up through late evening. Once that moves on by, this low pressure system is going to kick down some cooler, drier air, so we'll see a drop in our humidity and a noticeable drop in our temperatures as well. Today's going to be our best chance for rain. After that, we are nice and dry into the weekend, and we're fine with rain. We don't need really any more at this point, at least statistically. Moving northeast at 21, the Hurricane Ernesto with winds at 85 miles per hour. Fortunately, it is going to stay offshore completely. It kind of brushes by some of the Canadian provinces, but stays offshore. It'll still be a hurricane as it moves past, but typically the worst part of a storm is going to be on the right side of the center. And so on that side, there shouldn't be a lot of major impacts there in Canada. Our rip current danger today is still high for most of our beaches. And boy, it was a rough weekend. You know, it's a weekend, a lot of folks trying to head to the beach before school starts and, you know, kind of get into the fall swing of things. 41 rescues this weekend, 35 of those were at Wrightsville alone. And so you do have to be careful if you're going to be headed to the beach anytime through the fall. You always want to check that rip current danger. Speaking of the fall, 80 degrees for Wednesday, and the morning low will be in the 50s. Humidity will be nice and low, but it does look like we'll be back to more of a summer-like pattern to wrap up the weekend. Eric?
Yeah, Elizabeth, loving that forecast. Not so much loving this traffic map looking very messy here at this point in our morning. I want to start you off down here near I-440 Sunnybrook Road. You can see we've had a lot of these delays start to clear out as DOT crews have dealt with a crash that we've been monitoring the last couple of minutes. Taking a live look out there right now, you can see Raleigh police cruisers, DOT crews on that scene still. The traffic incoming from I-40 westbound having to merge essentially across the median with that 440 traffic. This causing a pretty significant slowdown out in that area. But again, it looks like those crews making progress getting this cleared up. The other big headache we've been following this morning, that's going to be all the way up on I-85 outside of Oxford, way up north of Durham. Those northbound lanes blocked as a result of a tractor trailer crash. You can see these backups stretching for a couple of miles here at this point. I want to send you to some video from Sky 5 we got earlier here, give you a sense of what those crews are dealing with. This likely to be in place here for at least the next hour. So if you're headed 85 northbound from Durham, you're going to want to keep your eyes peeled because you are going to be directed off the interstate at exit 202 and then back on, adding a couple of minutes to your drive.
Certainly hope they can clean that up quick. Thank you, Eric. Secretary of State Antony Blinken will meet with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in Jerusalem today, and he's doing that as the U.S. pushes for a ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas. U.S. authorities have said that they are optimistic, but they say more work needs to happen. His visit comes as Israeli airstrikes across Gaza has killed nearly 30 people in the last 2 days, including children. Health leaders in Gaza say one of the strikes hit a home yesterday, killing a mother and her 6 children.
Economists warn that a looming worker strike at Canada's 2 largest railroads could disrupt the U.S. supply chain. Canadian Pacific Kansas City and Canadian National Railroad say that all shipments to and from Canada will stop tomorrow. That's if a deal with Canada's largest labor union is not reached. Workers are fighting for better schedules, improved safety, and worker fatigue.
We are months away from new leadership overseeing your child's public education, and we want to know that we want to hear from you as we know you have concerns on how this could affect your kids. If you check out the QR code that is on your screen right there, Point your phone's camera to it. It'll give you a link to a new WRAL survey. We want to know what you think is important for the next state superintendent of public instruction to focus on, and what qualifications you think are most important. The survey, it only takes a couple of minutes, folks. Now, if you can't get to your phone quickly enough, just search the words back to school on WRAL.com and you'll find the survey at the top.
Tonight at 6, WRAL investigates nearly $200 million in taxpayer dollars to send kids to private or religious schools.
If I'm paying my taxes for my kids, I would like to just allocate those funds to the school that we choose for them to be at.
The state's school voucher program is growing. Tonight at 6, WRAL investigates back to school, where our money is going, and why some argue it may be better spent on something else.
Egg prices are going up again. According to new Consumer Price Index data, the cost of eggs rose about 20% in July compared to last year. Researchers are saying the bird flu is the main cause of the spike. The average price of a dozen eggs in July was $3.08. And one researcher says consumers could see breaks in prices since future seasons are less likely to have severe bird flu outbreaks.
A federal judge has temporarily halted the launch of a new sports streaming service. Last week, Fubo requested a preliminary injunction of the release of Venue Sports. Fubo claims the new streamer will dominate the market because of its media rights. Venue is a venture from Warner Brothers, Discovery, Disney, and Fox Corporation. And these companies released a joint statement saying they will appeal the ruling.
Today is our first day in months with a sunset before 8 p.m. Now, you may think we should do away with the time change altogether. Meteorologist Chris Michael shows us why that might not be the best for everyone, Chris.
Exactly, and something that fits for one person may not for another. I'm going to show you why here in just a little bit. But yes, tonight is the first official sunset before 8, and it sets earlier until April of 2025. Now, there is something called the Sunshine Protection Act that would try and do away with everything and just make us go permanently to daylight saving time. Here's the thing. It passed through the Senate. It didn't through the House of Representatives. Therefore, it never got to the president's desk. If we were all year long daylight saving time, the latest sunrise we would have would be 8:25. Currently, that's 7:39. Latest sunset would still be 8:34, just as it is now, but you would see 19 more sunsets after 7 p.m. Now, let's just say for argument's sake, we were standard time all year long. Your earliest sunrise would be 4:48. Right now, it's just shy of 6 o'clock in the morning. The latest sunset would only be 7:34. You would have 93 fewer sunsets after 7 p.m. So you can see how for different folks, it's kind of tough to really gauge which one of these is better. So maybe we just leave it the way it is. Interested to hear what you guys think.
All right, thank you, Chris. Stargazers have plenty to look forward to. The next full moon will happen tonight, and NASA authorities say that the moon will look full for 3 full days. This full moon will also be a supermoon and a seasonal blue moon. Now, a blue moon, it would be cool, but of course the color will not actually be blue. A seasonal blue moon is the third full moon in a season with our full moons.
Sharing is not always caring. That's the warning vets are giving to pet owners who let their four-legged friends share a communal water bowl once in a while. Kaylee Shire has the latest on what dog owners should know before leaving the house.
Whether taking our four-legged friends on a stroll or to the dog park, pets, just like people, get thirsty and often go looking for the first available bowl of water to quench their thirst.
They're dogs, they're going to do what they're going to do.
But those seemingly harmless public water bowls, while enticing to our pets, are often more dangerous than they look.
There are several infectious or communicable diseases that dogs can get when they drink out of communal water bowls.
Nationwide, vets are warning pet owners of the dangers of letting dogs use public water bowls, often found in parks or shops welcoming of dogs.
Some of these diseases can cause serious symptoms, including bloody diarrhea, vomiting, kidney disease.
If not cleaned regularly or if water is left standing for extended periods, vets say those stagnant water bowls can start to retain environmental contaminants, mold, toxins, and parasites carrying diseases such as salmonella, leptospirosis, kennel cough, and more.
They're not the cleanest. They're really not. And they just kind of, they throw them to the side or there's mud.
It's an issue this mom says proved fatal for her pet after a visit to the dog park last summer.
They assumed it was from eating and drinking after other dogs.
But vets say depriving your pets of water can be even more harmful.
If it's really hot and your dog is suffering and in danger of becoming overheated, then the risk of drinking out of the water bowl is going to become a lot less than the risk of your dog getting heat stroke or heat exhaustion or severe dehydration.
That was Katie Shire reporting. Vets say it's best to leave prepared and carry a water bottle just for your dog and leave the sharing for at home.
The woman accused of helping a convicted murderer escape from an Orange County hospital will be in court today. What we know about the charges that she faces.
And police in Baltimore are investigating a mass shooting, what they believe led up to the shooting that left one dead and several others hurt.
As you get into your car, tune to WRAL News Plus on your radio. In Raleigh on 99.3 FM. In Durham, 96.5 FM. And everywhere on 101.5 HD3.
Good morning. Happy Monday. Time now is 8:26. I'm Michelle McConaughey. Beautiful outside right now, but that could change later on. Meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner is tracking a level 1 severe risk day.
We do have the potential for some storms starting this evening, right around the time of the evening commute from the Virginia line down toward Fayetteville and Clinton and then eastward toward the coast. A few isolated storms could produce some wind damage. It's about a 40% chance, and you can see how that begins during the evening hours. Lasts until around, say, 10 or 11 o'clock as those storms start north and drop south. Right now, though, it's nice and sunny and fairly comfortable. Live look at Durham at the DBAP, 72 in Raleigh and 71 in Fayetteville. If you're headed out for exercise, it's starting to warm up, but it'll be pretty hot this afternoon, around 88 for the high, around 3 o'clock. Eric?
Elizabeth, taking a look at traffic here. I want to start you off with the crash we've been following for the last hour. It's going to be down at I-440 at Sunnybrook Road. You can see just past that merge between 440 and 40 there. This crash has multiple lanes blocked, traffic diverted onto the shoulder, but crews are making progress in getting this cleaned up. You can see as we take a live look out there from the traffic cameras, this merge having to take place, this adding probably 15 to 20 minutes as you're headed into the city from the Clayton area this morning.
Thanks, Eric. Today we expect to get an update on the plan for restoring Springfield Middle School. The school was damaged by a tornado less than 2 weeks ago. Wilson County School Board meets today and could talk about restoration efforts. Mobile trailers will be brought in to use as classrooms. School starts next week. And coming up next on Fox 50, what you can expect on day 1 of the Democratic National Convention. And coming up next on Today, breaking down the top tech for back to school.
Shot in 4K ultra high definition. Your number 1 source for local news. WRAL News. Coverage you can count on.
And we have a level 1 risk for severe storms this evening. I'll walk you through the timeline and show you what the risks are.
Downed trees and debris were left scattered across roads in Wake and Johnston counties. The church in Benson will be forced to clean up this mess left in the parking lot.
And speaking of mess, classes start in 1 week at a middle school hit by a tornado. The progress on the restoration efforts for Springfield Middle School. Laura Levine is out there. We will get to her coming up. Thank you so much for joining us on your Monday morning. I'm Michelle McConaughey.
Yeah, I'm Chris Levigan. And what a beautiful way to start a Monday morning there.
Gorgeous.
Definitely, I would like we could just take this and just spread it across the entire week here. I guess I'll petition to meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner. Please let it be a great week for weather.
It is going to be a week of beautiful weather, but as we get into the weekend, we're going to creep a little bit back towards summer, and it'll feel sort of summer-like today. We have that level 1 risk for severe storms for most of the viewing area, starting around Fayetteville and Clinton and heading northward. Damaging wind gusts would be our biggest threat, but yesterday it was a level 2 risk, and we did have some reports of wind damage, some trees down, especially just south of Raleigh. So our chance for that is a little lower today. Around 5 o'clock or so, we're going to see a disturbance that rolls through. There's 5 o'clock around Roxborough, around 8 o'clock through the Triangle area and Rocky Mount, and then by around 10 or 11, it fizzles out. So a few of those storms could produce some wind damage again this evening. Beautiful here in downtown Raleigh right now. Gorgeous blue sky. It's 72, but our dew point 67, and that feels a little more comfortable than when it's in the 70s. It's not a big drop, but a bigger drop is coming. It'll be a warm afternoon with temperatures in the upper 80s before those thunderstorms start. Wait till you see how much more comfortable it's going to feel starting tomorrow and Wednesday. Coming up, Eric?
Elizabeth, a lot to keep our eyes on as we take a look at the traffic map here this morning. Starting off down here, I-440 at Sunnybrook Road, just past that 440-40 merge. We have a crash right at that merge, essentially that leading to some pretty significant backups, whichever way you have to pass through that intersection there. Taking a live look out there from the traffic camera, you can see traffic being diverted from I-40 as you're coming in, having to merge across that median with 440. You're going to want to take your time as you're coming in today, and you likely won't have a choice if you're coming in from the Clayton area point southward. Traffic sensors showing we're now looking at a 23-minute delay if you're coming in that way. So definitely something you want to keep in mind for your morning commute. Otherwise, we continue to follow a significant problem up outside of Oxford, I-85 northbound. This a tractor trailer crash that has had these lanes, the northbound lanes, shut down at exit 202 since before 4 this morning. Taking a look out there, this is some video Sky 5 got a little bit earlier. You can see one of the tractor trailers involved here. That tractor trailer completely ripped open by this crash, debris spilling out on the roadway. We're looking for those lanes to reopen in about another hour, but that's all going to depend on this cleanup. We'll keep a close eye on this and those other crashes, let you know as things change.
All right, thanks, Eric. And cleanup from Wake to Johnston will be happening this morning after storms caused damage. WRAL's Kelsey Coffey was at the Lighthouse Baptist Church in Benson, where she found tree limbs scattered across the parking lot.
We're at Lighthouse Baptist Church in Benson, where debris is still scattered all over this parking lot, and there's even more debris there in front of the house next door. We told you a little bit earlier about reports of damage on Lansing Drive. That's about 3 minutes away from here. You can see a video now from a neighborhood on that street. There isn't any severe damage that we could find, but you can see a fence down in someone's front yard and a huge limb on the ground. We'll give you a look now at what the drive looked like from Raleigh to Benson yesterday. People were driving slowly to avoid debris on the roads. An NCDOT representative told WRAL there were a few trees that had to be removed from the middle of the road. The rest were large trees that were leaning across guardrails and onto the shoulder. Traffic had to merge to one lane to avoid some of those large limbs. We'll be sure to keep you updated on the cleanup efforts here throughout the day. Kelsey Coffey, WRAL News in Benson.
And a man is in the hospital because he was stabbed in South Raleigh. We want to show you video from the WRAL Breaking News Tracker. Investigators responded to Marble Street just after 11 p.m. That's where they found the man with stab wounds. He was taken to the hospital and is expected to be okay. And police were also investigating a gas station on South Saunders Street nearby at the same time. But it's not clear at this time what exactly happened there. But we do know that a man is in custody for the attack.
Today, we expect an update on Springfield Middle School. The school in Wilson County was badly damaged when an EF3 tornado hit it earlier this month. WRAL's Laura Levine shares the school board is working on a plan to restore the school.
It was less than 2 weeks ago when an EF3 tornado touched down here at Springfield Middle School. Today, now you can see a fence has been installed around the building, and that roof that was pulled apart from the tornado now covered as repair work still underway. Superintendent Lane Mills says that he plans to share an update on the progress to get students back inside this school building. The 6th and 7th grade wings of the school suffered immense damage to the walls and roof, and the classrooms and other rooms on those wings are a total loss. Builder Services of NC has been working to remove excess water and secure the roof and walls that were damaged. The company determined 75% of the structure is safe and that students can return at the start of the school year, which begins next Monday. They plan to bring in mobile units and also utilize the 8th grade wing and core of the school while the 2 damaged wings are rebuilt.
When you walk in, it's be very little drywall left. The roof is being temporarily repaired right now to keep the moisture out. But it is very heavily damaged, and it'll be walled off where you won't be able to access it.
And school orientations are also still scheduled to go as planned tomorrow. Those are going to be held at Lacama Middle School. The board will meet tonight at 6:30. Laura Levine, WRAL News in Wilson County.
The woman accused of helping to hide an escaped convicted murderer is expected in court today. Jacobia Crisp is expected to make her first court appearance in Orange County. She's charged with aiding and abetting a convicted murderer and his escape from prison. Now, Ramon Alston was arrested in Kannapolis after a 3-day manhunt. He was behind bars after being convicted of killing a 1-year-old in Chapel Hill. But investigators have not said how he escaped custody.
The Democratic National Convention kicks off today in Chicago. This is a live look inside the United Center, the site of the convention. Vice President Kamala Harris and her running mate, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, are set to formally accept their party's nomination. President Biden is expected to kick off the convention as the keynote speaker tonight. Other speakers include former Presidents Barack Obama and Bill Clinton. Harris will cap off the convention Thursday night after she is formally named the Democratic nominee.
And Jeff Hogan at WRAL Live Center. All while that is going on, Michelle, there's a Republican-led committee that has released a report alleging the impeachment practices of President Joe Biden. A little more information on that report. It's coming out that it does not make a formal recommendation for the House of Representatives to move forward with actual impeachment, but it does say that the president, quoting them, the GOP-led committee has engaged in impeachable conduct. That is what they are saying. The nearly 300-page report alleges that Biden knowingly participated in a conspiracy to leverage his office while he was vice president and beyond that time frame to financially benefit his family. It leaves it, though, up to the House of Representatives to evaluate. Now, as far as timing, the interesting thing here is the report is unveiled. Michelle, as you mentioned, the day the Democratic National Convention begins in Chicago, and just hours before President Biden is expected to make the keynote speech.
All right, thank you, Jeff. Protests have already started ahead of the DNC. This demonstration was organized by Bodies Outside of Unjust Laws, a coalition of feminist, LGBTQ, and pro-Palestinian groups. Protesters held banners and signs that read, "Free Palestine." They're calling for a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas in Gaza. And this is just the first of what is expected to be many demonstrations in Chicago this week.
Donald Trump and his vice presidential running mate, J.D. Vance, will be in Asheboro this week. This will be the first time Vance will appear with Trump in North Carolina. The campaign says they'll deliver remarks on national security at the North Carolina Aviation Museum. That's at 2 p.m. on Wednesday.
Ernesto is now a hurricane again after gaining strength while moving away from Bermuda. The storm is expected to weaken back into a tropical storm by tomorrow morning as it heads east of Newfoundland. Now, life-threatening surf and rip currents are possible along the East Coast for the next few days. This past weekend, we had more than 40 rescues due to rip currents just along our southern coastline, and most of those were at Wrightsville Beach, according to the National Weather Service in Wilmington.
And part of the beach at Rodanthe will be closed for the next few days after a house fell into the surf. We first showed you this video on Friday. A home on Corbina Drive in Rodanthe washed right into the ocean. Crews have been cleaning up the debris since Saturday.
One man is dead and 7 others are hospitalized after a mass shooting in Baltimore last night. Investigators say the people who were shot, they vary in range of age from 22 to 46. Some are stable this morning and others are in critical condition. They say it happened near a park in East Baltimore. Police say there was some sort of gathering when multiple people opened fire, but it's not known how many shooters there were.
Coming up, Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark not letting up on the court. The new records the rookies broke during this week's games.
Plus, Kirsten Dunst spent this weekend partying like it was 1999. Now the star proved that she can still bring it on.
And we'll take you live out to the DBAP this morning. Another round of storms is on the way. Meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner shares when we can expect them to arrive.
I know the folks over in Fenton and Cary are not complaining as they're waking up this morning. So some beautiful, not just sunshine, but clear skies. You're looking up there. That's a pretty nice, good way to start your Monday. We've got meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner right now to get you started on your forecast starting on this Monday. And it's a good way to start the day, Elizabeth.
You know, we've got some really good looking weather in our forecast this week. Today is going to be kind of a transition day. We had a cold front that started sweeping across the state yesterday, and that helped to produce some thunderstorms. Behind it, there's a disturbance, and so the whole thing will sweep offshore later on tonight, and that is going to allow some cooler, drier air to filter in. Almost a little bit of a sneak preview of what we may see during the fall. In the meantime, though, we do have a level 1 risk for severe storms. Yesterday, it was level 2, so we back it off just 1 level there. So fewer fewer storms are likely, but still a couple of those could produce some wind damage, maybe knock down some trees. The humidity is going to drop after our front, and it's going to feel really nice. This is the outline, though, for our severe weather threat. So from around Fayetteville and Clinton northward up toward the Virginia line and then over toward the coast, we'll have the potential for a little bit of isolated wind damage. Our cold front will continue to slide eastward. A few of those storms start to pop up pretty late, say around 5 o'clock up near the Virginia line, and between 7 and 9 around the triangle. And then pretty much by 10 o'clock, we're all finished with it. Yesterday, of course, we did have a number of storms, some trees down in places, especially just south of Raleigh. Michelle Smith, after that storm moved through, was able to snap a picture of the rainbow there in Wendell. A beautiful shot. We'd love to see your WRAL Weather Watcher photos. Just go to our website, WRAL.com, search Weather Watcher, and send us what you have. Taking a look downtown, lots of blue sky. Temperature at 72 now, but the dew point's still at 67. Still feels very much like summer today. 88 in Raleigh, 86 Durham, and 89 in Fayetteville. But watch what happens. We're going to see a big drop in our muggy meter. We're going to drop it on down to comfy for Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We get into the weekend, and we're going to start to see it creeping up just a little bit. But we'll have a string of days that feel very nice. And the last time we had more than 2 days in the comfy zone was way back May 29th to June 2nd. So again, starting to see some changes out there, not permanently, but just a little bit. Check out Thursday morning, 59 degrees. That will feel like late September. 69 is our normal low. So that 59 will be 10 degrees below normal. It'll be very pleasant Wednesday morning through Saturday morning. We do have some cooler temperatures in the afternoon as well. Our normal high 89. So we're close to that today. We drop into the low to mid 80s Tuesday through Friday. And in Boone, it gets even cooler. Look at that, 48 degrees for Wednesday morning. So not quite cool enough to start changing the leaves, but it won't be too long. 80 degrees for that high on Wednesday will feel great, but we do start to see the temperatures creeping up a little bit on Sunday and most likely next week too. Eric?
Elizabeth, some good news on one of these major crashes we've been following, specifically the one down at I-440 at Sunnybrook Road. That crash in just the last couple of minutes has cleared up. You can see there from the traffic camera, traffic moving as normal. The thing is, though, this crash caused some very significant backups down on I-40 westbound. Those likely to take another 20 to 30 minutes to clear. You can see if you're coming in from NC-42, Clayton area, that adding about 13 minutes to your drive time there. The other major issue we're watching, it's going to be up outside of Oxford on I-85 northbound. This likely to have a pretty significant impact if you're driving north from Durham. You can see right there the interstate shut down because of a tractor-trailer crash. This happened before 4 this morning, but still crews working to clean up and deal with the aftermath. You're taking a look at some Sky 5 video captured earlier this morning. You can see just the degree of damage to that truck there. We're looking for the interstate to open in about the next hour or so, but it is going to depend on how quickly those crews are able to get that mess cleaned up.
All right, thanks, Eric. The storms that passed through Sunday left trees down in Johnston County, including on I-40. We also saw many trees down near McGee's Crossroads and Willow Spring. Meteorologist Chris Michaels joins us now to explain how a weather phenomenon called a microburst, Chris, can quickly cause all of this damage.
And you just said it happened very quickly out there. So it was very hot. It was very humid. All that air was rising, formed a storm that was full of cool and very heavy rain. Now, eventually, the storm gets to a point where this air stops rising. So what comes of that? All of a sudden, all that heavy rain crashes down to the surface on a small scale, and it diverges at the surface too, as you see in this little diagram that we've got for you. But you can also see how that plays out in real time. The radar imagery on the left-hand side of the screen shows that diverging motion, but you also have that picture there from Kim, who was looking at that Johnston County storm. All of this textbook as the air just kind of crashed down at the surface, fanned out, and it wiped out a ton of trees on I-40. If you have any pictures of that storm from last night or the beautiful rainbow that came after it, we want to see them. Send those to us through Weather Watchers on WRAL.com. Also, more on this story on our website, too.
All right, thank you, Chris. 2 people are missing because they were swept away by floodwaters in Connecticut. Look at this. Heavy rain in Connecticut caused this huge mudslide and flooding, prompting evacuations. What you're seeing here is video showing the mud flowing near the buildings in Danbury. Emergency crews evacuated a building there, and you can look at here to see people crawling on a fire truck ladder for safety. You may have seen that just a little bit ago. 19 people and a dog were rescued from floodwaters. Some cities have seen up to 9 inches of rain, and that has prompted flash flooding warnings.
Democrats are taking aim at the Trump-Vance campaign by projecting messages onto Trump's Chicago hotel ahead of the Democratic National Convention. Several taunts were visible on the side of the building, like Project 2025 HQ. That's a reference to the controversial conservative policy plans written by a slew of allies of former President Trump. Trump has disavowed Project 2025 in recent weeks. Other messages expressed support for the Democratic ticket, such as Harris, Walz, Joy, and Hope.
An investigation is underway after 5 people were shot in a park in Boston last night. Investigators say they responded to reports of gunfire at the park around 9 o'clock last night. 3 men and 2 women were taken to hospitals, but they are expected to survive. Investigators have not identified any suspects, though, but they do say they are reviewing surveillance video from that area.
People in Wilson County held an event in Rocky Mount to raise money for the family of a woman and her 6-year-old daughter who were killed last Sunday. Kiara Massenberg and her daughter Zoe were shot in what investigators are calling a murder-suicide. Sunday's fundraiser was held at De Barracks in Rocky Mount.
We had the tragic death of a young mother and her daughter for something really senseless to all of us. That's something we would never, none of us would ever understand why. So we just decided to come out today to support the family, help them with anything they could need, let them know that the community is here for them.
We just making it day by day. And everybody keeping us in prayer is helping us.
And people who attended were asked to wear purple. There will be a vigil on Thursday as well in honor of the mother and daughter.
Covering Wake County this morning with home prices steadily increasing, home ownership feels like a dream out of reach for so many people. The city of Raleigh is working with nonprofits to try and make that dream a reality. The Raleigh Area Land Trust purchases the land and then sells the home to low or moderate income families. More than a year ago, James Watson, you see here, became the first person who bought a home through the Land Trust. The lifelong maintenance worker has struggled to buy a house. Raleigh Area Land Trust sold 2 homes in southeast Raleigh in 2023, and now they have 22 units in the process of being developed.
Some drivers are holding off on making repairs that can potentially lead to dangerous issues. LexisNexis reports almost 30% of vehicle owners have not gone to get their cars fixed after receiving a notice of a recall. About 7% of car owners say they don't plan on fixing their vehicle at all. However, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration says it's important to get a free repair for any recall, regardless of the severity.
Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark are adding more records to their resumes. Clark broke the WNBA single-season rookie record for assists during last night's win against the Seattle Storm. Clark, who leads the league in assists, had 9, and Angel Reese became the fastest WNBA player ever to record 20 double-doubles in a single season. She had 19 points and 20 rebounds, a career high, although her team, the Chicago Sky, ultimately lost to the Phoenix Mercury. Kirsten Dunst is proving that she can still bring it.
Beautiful, but we don't like you either. We're cheerleaders. We are cheerleaders. Roll call. We've been great.
Look at her. She never forgot. The Academy Award nominee surprised fans at a double screening celebrating the 25th anniversary of the release of Bring It On and the Virgin Suicides. She introduced the movie before joining fans on the lawn to rewatch her classic hits, even reciting the movie's opening chant, as you heard there. The Virgin Suicides and Bring It On were released in 1999 and 2000, respectively. Oh boy, long time ago.
I officially feel old.
I do too.
All right, before we go to break, here are the winning lottery numbers. We'll get another check on weather and traffic next.